Brigitte Bardot is well known as an international sex symbol and animal rights activist. Did you know that she was also an outspoken critic of mass immigration whose comments repeatedly landed her in legal trouble? These are the 6 times Brigitte Bardot was fined for hate speech. 1. 1996 Le Figaro article. Bardot's first brush with the law occurred in 1996 over comments that she had made about Muslims in an article in French newspaper Le Figaro. The article was published one day before that year's festival of Eid al-Kabir, the Muslim feast of the sacrifice. Bardot talked in general about the exemption granted to halal slaughterhouses, which are allowed to kill animals without stunning them beforehand. She also talked specifically about the festival of Eid al-Kabir, when many animals in France are slaughtered outside licensed abattoirs, often, for example, in family homes by people who are not properly trained. The article was entitled My Cry of Rage. It also included a number of statements about Muslim immigration in general, and it was for these comments that she would be prosecuted. My father and my grandfather fought against Germanic oppression and invasion during the last 2 world wars, and now my country, France, my homeland, is once again being invaded, with the blessing of successive governments, by an overpopulation of foreigners, in particular Muslims, to whom we pledge allegiance. Due to this Islamic flood, we are forced to endure, against our will, all these traditions. Year after year, we see mosques springing up all over France, while our church bells fall silent due to a lack of priests. Why do we, like those sheep destined for illicit sacrifices, not react? Will I be forced in the near future to flee my country, which has become a land of blood and violence, in an attempt to find elsewhere, by becoming an emigrant myself, the respect and esteem that we are, alas, denied here on a daily basis? She was charged under Article 24 of France's Freedom of the Press law for having incited discrimination, hatred or violence with regard to a person or a group of persons due to their origin or their belonging or their not belonging to an ethnicity, a country, a race or a religion. She was found guilty and fined 10,000 French francs, which is about €1,500. It's worth noting that the comments for which Bardot was prosecuted were made in the context of her trying to defend animal rights. This will also be the case in nearly all of her subsequent trials. 2. 1997 letter in Présent. The following year, again at the time of Eid al-Kabir, Bardot sent a letter to various French media outlets about this religious festival. The only paper to publish it in full was Présent, a French daily newspaper that was very right-wing and was close to Jean-Marie Le Pen and the Front National. At the time, a particularly brutal civil war was taking place in Algeria. This is significant because many Muslims in France are of Algerian extraction, and in her letter, Bardot conflated the actions of French Muslims during Eid al-Kabir with the concurrent atrocities in Algeria. They slaughter women, children, our monks, our officials, our tourists, and our sheep. One day we will be slaughtered, and we will have deserved it. A Muslim France with a Maghrebi Marianne, why not, given the situation we are in now? The Maghreb is the region in North Africa from where most of France's Muslims originate. Marianne is the symbol of the French Republic. A bust of Marianne can be found in every law court and local government office in the country. Bardot herself had posed as a model for the Marianne busts in the 1960s. At her trial, Bardot said, "In my soul, I am not a racist." But it didn't matter. She was found guilty and fined 20,000 francs, which is about €3,000. 3. 1999 book The Square of Pluto. In 1999, Bardot released the 2nd volume of her memoirs, which dealt with her life after retiring from acting, when she focused on animal rights activism. In the annex at the back of the book, Bardot brazenly reprinted, word for word, the Le Figaro article for which she had been fined in 1996. Not surprisingly, she was fined again, this time 30,000 francs, about €4,500. 4. 2003 book A Scream in the Silence. In 2003, Bardot released another book in which she gave her opinions on various issues in contemporary France. There were a lot of controversial statements in this book, for example about homosexuals and feminism, but for the purposes of this video I'm going to concentrate on the comments for which she was prosecuted. We no longer have the right to complain about the hordes of youths that terrorize the population. We no longer have the right to be outraged when illegal immigrants or thugs take over and desecrate our churches in order to transform them into human pigsties, shitting behind the altar, pissing against the columns, spreading their nauseating smell under the sacred vaults of the choir. Here we are, reduced to taking a politically correct pride in mixing and mingling our genes. We pledge our allegiance with our ancestry, letting our descendants forever crossbreed, due to secular and religious predominances fanatically stemming from our most visceral antagonisms. I know this translation sounds awkward and difficult to understand. It's the same in the original French. Bardot uses some strange turns of phrase here. She continues, I am against the Islamization of France. This compulsory submission, this forced submission disgusts me. We submit to an underground and dangerous infiltration. Returning to the issue of Eid al-Kabir, a particular concern for Bardot throughout her life, she described the festival as a butchery, a disaster, a horror. The court in its ruling said that Bardot's words would lead the reader to, quote, reject the Muslim community in France through violence and hate, end quote. Bardot was fined €5,000. 5. 2006 article in L'Info Journal. Bardot's charitable foundation produces a quarterly magazine called Info Journal. Its December 2006 issue contained an open letter to Nicolas Sarkozy, who was Interior Minister at the time, calling on him to take action regarding the Eid al-Kabir festival and the lack of stunning in halal slaughter. It was the following comment that landed her in hot water. We are sick of being led by the nose by this whole population who are destroying us, destroying our country by imposing their acts. Bardot told the trial that she was being harassed by the anti-racism organisations that kept taking her to court for her comments, and that she would remain silent only when stunning was made mandatory for all animals killed in ritual slaughter. Bardot's efforts had played a major role in France introducing stunning for animals in abattoirs in 1972. However, as of February 2026, the exemption for halal and kosher slaughter remains in place. Returning to the trial, Bardot was found guilty of hate speech for a fifth time and fined €15,000. 6. 2019 open letter about Réunion. Réunion is a French island in the Indian Ocean between Madagascar and Mauritius. It has a population of around 1 million. The people are mostly of black, white or Indian ancestry. In March 2019, at the age of 84, Bardot wrote an open letter to the prefect of Réunion, outlining a long litany of animal abuse on the island, including the use of cats and dogs as live bait in shark fishing. This island, which they call the Island of the Devil, is the only overseas department or territory of France that continues to conduct itself in such a savage manner when it comes to animals. The natives have retained their savage genes. You authorize Indian Tamil festivals, where goats and rams are decapitated as offerings for their gods. All of this is reminiscent of the cannibalism of centuries past and should be prohibited. Switching from Hindus back to the population of Réunion in general, she described the inhabitants as a degenerate population still steeped in the ancestral customs and barbaric traditions that are their roots. For these comments, Bardot was fined €20,000. Though this was later reduced to €10,000 on appeal. If you've made it to the end of the video, please consider making a donation to Brigitte's foundation, which does a lot of good work for animals. Thanks for watching, and until next time.